Test automation is now considered a best practice when it comes to DevOps. Test automation helps you deliver higher quality code quicker and with less cost by reducing human intervention. In this video, we'll be covering how FlexDeploy can help you add test automation to your software delivery lifecycle and reap the benefits. FlexDeploy allows you to quickly and easily define tests to execute directly within your build and deploy process. We also offer several out-of-the-box integrations with the most popular testing tools such as JUnit, SoapUI, and Postman. Without further ado, let's jump into FlexDeploy to see exactly how this works. To start, we'll go into our FlexDeploy project. From here, we'll go to our Test Automation tab under Configuration. In FlexDeploy, we configure our tests for our project using a configuration file. In this file, we will define the information that will be used by FlexDeploy to execute our tests, such as the testing workflow that will be executed and any properties that our testing workflow will use. We can simply click the Get Started button, and FlexDeploy will automatically create a configuration file for us to use. We can then specify which testing tool we want to use to execute our tests. In this case, we'll be using Postman, so I will type test-postman. As you can see, we can use the script editor's autocomplete functionality to view what values are available for us to use for this configuration file. Once we hit enter, FlexDeploy will generate a template based on the testing tool specified, which uses our out-of-the-box testing workflow for the testing tool and adds any required properties. We can then edit this template to match the exact process we want to follow for our testing strategy. In this example, we must define which Postman collection JSON files we want to execute as part of these tests. This value will use a regular expression to match files that are in our SCM repository. Here, we have it defined to match all collection.json files from our build artifacts using a wildcard character. This makes it simple to add additional tests, as we only need to add a Postman collection in our FD test folder in our SCM repository, and FlexDeploy will automatically add this to our build artifact. We also have the optional property of defining which instance our test will run on. In this case, we will remove it as we want to test against the instance that we are deploying to. We can also specify which environments we want our test to run against. Here, we'll add an environment filter to only run these tests against the dev environment. Once we have our configuration file completed, it is recommended to download this YAML file and store it in our project's source control under the FD test directory. This will allow us to track the versioning of our test configurations for our project. FlexDeploy will automatically source our test definitions from the source control repository, so no additional configuration is needed. Now that we have our tests defined for our project, we can execute them. First, we'll go to the Execution tab and click the Test button on the top right. We will then specify which environment and target group we want these tests to execute against. Once that's selected, we can click the Test button. FlexDeploy will then use the configuration file that we created earlier to determine how to run our tests. In this example, it will look at our build artifact to determine which Postman collections to run. Once the test workflow execution is complete, we can click our execution ID to view the workflow summary. Here, we can see our test summary containing the number of passed and failed tests from our Postman collections. To get a closer look at exact test executions, we can select the test results section. Here, we can see each test suite that was executed, as well as the individual test cases. It seems that some of our tests have failed in our Report API test suite, so let's take a closer look. FlexDeploy makes it easy to see detailed information on our test case execution, such as pass-failed status, duration, and any messages returned during execution. To take full advantage of FlexDeploy's test automation functionality, we'll need to integrate these tests in our release orchestration. To do this, we'll need to add a test step and a test gate to our pipeline. The test step will execute our tests that are defined on our project and store the results. The test gate will review these results and determine whether or not to continue based on some qualifier that we define. Some examples of these qualifiers include percentage of tests passed greater than 75%, or the average response time to these tests to be less than 1,000 milliseconds. With these steps and gates configured, we can utilize continuous integration to truly automate our testing and integrate the examination of these test results in our software delivery process. Adding test automation to your FlexDeploy implementation is made simple with our test configuration file templates and out-of-box support for the most popular testing tools. By injecting test automation, we can deliver software through the delivery lifecycle faster by removing manual testing effort and therefore reducing risk. In conclusion, we discussed how FlexDeploy makes it easy to adhere to DevOps best practices with test automation so that your team can deliver higher quality, safer code faster, and with less cost. Thank you for watching.